YouTube, let's check out this World Superbike race. Roll with me. 2025 Portimao free practice 1. About to see my dude Toprak get to work. See how he does on, I guess, a better rendition of the 2025 M1000. We'll see if they've made a couple adjustments to it. Locatelli's bike, beautiful. The Yamaha's beautiful. I love the way they look. The wings are beautiful on them.
Will be quite as dominant here. We certainly expect Toprak to be able to make more of an impression. Michael van der Mark as well went well on day 2 of the recent Portimao test.
Looks like Jonathan Ray is still out. He'll be out for a little bit.
So let's hope that it's a bit more varied up towards the front of the field here in Portimao.
This track has got a lot of elevation change. Pretty cool track.
On a moment ago, he was running in the top
23 seconds till pit lane opens.
He got the best that was available for him in Phillip Island first time out. Wasn't going to mix it
Sam
with
Lowell.
those 5 Ducatis.
Mark VDS, Ducati, V4R.
He was able to finish in race 1, but he was there.
He's been getting the feels back. He's been getting the speed back. You can tell he's working his way into that V4R pretty good. But I mean, Alex though, he's the big ticket. Alex on that Bimota, he was able to pick up where he left off in regards to performance on that Kawasaki and the ZX10. So that's been pretty good for him. Pretty quick adaptation point.
People within Yamaha, they said it will help, but obviously when you look at Yamaha, the biggest issue they've had is that top speed, and we'll have to wait and see when they're able to make
6 lefts, 9 rights.
From Pirelli,
2.8 miles.
Harder allocation at this particular venue, and that's just a question of the circuit characteristics. It's a unique venue here in Portimao. We've got a long start-finish straight of some 969 metres, high top speeds. The rest of the circuit is undulating. That's the most dramatic feature of the venue. You'll see it as they make their way down
pull out in front of Garrett Gerloff. 31 on the new ZX10. The only Kawasaki out there.
11, 16 meters
Batista getting ready.
But then particularly as far as tires,
sponsored by the CDs, baby. I love CDs. I got big feet. I love my CDs.
Yeah, the undulations are tough here, and I decided to do my running on the beach rather than on the track.
Danilo Petrucci running down pit lane. Get ready to open up.
Challenger in here to get the most out of yourself, because it's a very difficult track to learn. Alvaro Bautista we see here in the number 19 Ducati just leaving pit lane. When Alvaro came here for the first time, it was a 2-day test in January, second or third time on the Ducati, and he spent 2 days trying to learn this track. So if you're one of the riders stepping in for this weekend, whether you're the likes of Jason O'Halloran or
Chaz Davies,
the riders
doing some camera work,
it's a real challenge to come here to Phillip Island.
He's a sponsored Ducati guy, and he's
looking every inch the sharpshooter.
Getting some video for us, pretty neat.
He's got some upgrades, but they look like they're taking over.
Nicola Bulaga.
Former world number 2.
He definitely looks like he's finding the speed.
World Championship, waiting to spot his riders.
It's crazy. I mean, I didn't really foresee him popping back up in the Superbike, but I wasn't really in the Superbike as much as I was Moto 2. So when he left Moto 2, I was kind of just lost sight of him for a little bit, and I knew that he went to World Supersport, but it looks like he went there and started cleaning up. He did really good. It's kind of funny. Him and Heron have like a little bit of a weird trajectory with both of them in Ducati. How they both jumped on the B2s. They both won championships, and now they're both on the V4Rs. They both found weird pathways that are very similar at the same point in time, and I don't even think that they're anywhere around the same age. It's kind of funny. Or Josh Herring is what I'm talking about, Moto America. And Van der Mark has always got a stick on Toprak, man. But I mean, Toprak's the reference. And it looks like he's constantly struggling to keep up with Toprak. It looks like he's struggling already. Toprak starts off fast, man.
The other BMW of Michael van der Mark is up a little bit closer to the front.
Montella.
It was disappointing
He's on
the first time
second Barney Ducati.
2 points on the board for a 14th place finish in race 2. He really was nowhere.
Ran out a bit wide.
But he should be much closer to the front here in Portimao.
Yeah, and
pulls right back in front of Alex Lowes.
Qualified on the third row of the grid. And for him,
who was that Tito Rabat on an R1?
Second or third row of the grid. You know, Phillip Island was a tough weekend. Obviously, the big crash at turn 1.
He disappeared for a while too.
But then you come into this weekend, and the test has been better. You're ready.
When he took off from MotoGP,
potential this week compared to what we saw round 1. It's a long season for riders.
Axel
For
Bassani.
Van der Mark, season didn't start off as he would have wanted. It didn't start off how BMW would have wanted. But you
Moto
can track now where
Kawasaki.
he was able to lead the race last year,
pretty
really
crispy.
competitive.
The
And
wings
expect to do
look
more of the
crazy.
same this weekend.
Everybody else's
First lap
wings
times
are,
coming
they
in
have such
in free
a
practice. One bit
drastic
of a delay
aerodynamic
to the
swoop
start,
to them.
but we're
And
glad
then
to be
the
up and
Pomoto
running.
is
They're
just
making their way
straight.
through that first sector now.
Flying straight with a scoop.
Those first lap times coming in. Steve, just give us an indication of what kind of lap times we might be expecting here at the Algarve International Circuit.
You'll be expecting down into the
Right in the
low
R1
41s in this session, and over the course of the free practice sessions down into the low 40s, and maybe even get yourself into the 39s. Super Pole is going to be a case of being in those 39s, and this weekend, because of the demands that's placed on the tyre, we don't have the usual qualifying tyre. We don't have the Q tyre. It's a much harder
40
tyre.
minutes
So
on the
that one lap
on the
pace,
time board.
it's not that dissimilar to your race pace.
Yes, it will certainly give us an idea, won't it, as to what we're looking at for the remainder of the weekend. Just to point out that the current times, Alex Lowe's the first rider into the 1 minute 41s, 1:41.769. So immediately hitting the ground running there, Lowe's, who was able to set a 1 minute 40.359 on day 2 of the Portimao test.
Cornering technique.
Are we comparable to that test in terms of conditions for the actual race weekend?
We saw some dry
39
weather
minutes
running during the course of that
50
test,
seconds
but
on the board.
Portimao has been hit by really bad weather for the last couple of months.
So how you
When we
be
came here
here
in January for the test, it was basically a washout for the 2
HRC.
days. And then last time the
On the
team
CBR 1000
it was
RR.
similar conditions for some of the week as well. So rain has followed the Superbike paddock everywhere they've gone testing. Portimao was the same, and we'll just have to wait and see how the weekend goes. But the forecast looks good. Wind doesn't look like it's going to be as big of a factor now as it was maybe even a week ago, where there was really strong winds here in the Algarve. So hopefully for everyone,
His
the conditions
stature
are
reminds me a lot of
25 degrees track
Valentino. He
temperature
stands
right
like
now.
Valentino.
This is as good as
He
we're ever
reminds
going to
me,
get in Portimao.
if
We're used
he
to
would look
coming
exactly
here
like
at
Valentino
end
if he
of
ran the
summer in
Yamaha
September,
suit.
or last year we came in August, so you're used to much higher track temperatures as well.
Toprak Razgatlioglu has
It
made
looks
his
like
way
it's a
out
little
onto the
bit cooler,
circuit
so that'd be a little bit better for the
straight back
tires.
in. We're riding on board with him here.
This is Toprak's first flying lap. He ran off at turn 1, just went in a bit too hot.
Just got a little too hot there, a little too
on the
anxious.
way in, and then Toprak just electing just to run through the gravel trap as well, just to avoid any issues.
Wings on that thing are super pronounced.
To worry about for
They're
Toprak,
more open now, it looks like.
obviously not the way that you want to start your weekend, with only one lap out and straight back into the pits.
Yes, the only other rider not to have set a time in these early minutes, Andrea Iannone, who is still in his pit box at present. In the early minutes of free practice 1. Niccolo Bulliger and Michael van der Mark, as well as Vierke, Locatelli and Sam Lowe, have all got into the 1 minute 41 now. So in the early minutes of FP1, those times just gradually tumbling as the riders find comfort with their machine.
First.
Yeah, we can see
Van der Mark. Oh, we got somebody off. Somebody ran off.
Rabat that's down in the gravel trap, so that's up at turn 8. So
Tito Rabat.
It looks a little bit later in the corner than you usually have a crash at turn 8. Typically on the entry to turn 8,
yeah, he probably lost the front end.
The outside curve on the track, and then the front tucks away from them. So this looks like it's a little bit later in the corner for him, but no real damage done to Tito. Bike should be okay. It's one of the slower corners on the track.
Yeah,
Bulliger, Van der Mark,
towards that turn 8,
Alex
80
Lowe's,
kilometers per hour through there.
Yeah,
so you don't want to be going off anywhere, but you don't want to be going out at
Batista,
at higher speeds elsewhere around the circuit either. Bulliger it is, who 1 minute 41.231. 3 tenths of a second behind him currently, Michael van der Mark. Then it's Alex Lowe's, Vierke, Locatelli, and Sam Lowe's. Alvaro Bautista, the latest rider to get into the 1 minute 41s. Still no sign of Andrea Iannone making his way out onto the circuit. I mentioned previously he hasn't got a lap time in as yet. And Toprak Razgatlioglu, the only other rider yet to appear in those points paying positions.
That's a beautiful color. They did a good job delivering on that bike. It's nice. On the inside. Who's that on the inside?
They were able to show generally at the opening round, because obviously they were a man down without Ika Lekwona, but for Vierke, outside of those top 10 positions, second half of last season, really from Manicor onwards at very least, they were starting to show signs of challenging in the top 6.
There goes Iannone.
There was no sign of that in Phillip Island.
Yeah, it just depends on what you're expecting from Honda. I don't think there's that many people expecting them to be that competitive, especially when you saw so many strong Ducatis there. Then you know Toprak's going to be up at the front. You know Locatelli's going to be at the front, one of his better tracks.
He's just waiting to get on track.
As well. So really, with all the strong Ducatis you have, the best that Honda could really have been
36 minutes and
opening round was
25 seconds.
the top 10. and it ended up where it was 11th place finishes for Vieira. So it wasn't far off where he should have been. It's just not on the one street.
Just sitting right behind Bassani.
The pit box a couple of moments ago for Andrea Iannone. Helmets is
still on. So be looking to probably line up a passer in just a moment.
A long-term issue that prevents him
from
getting
use the power line Ducati.
They left the pits
and they're into the draft, and there he goes.
They're just obviously working on whatever that issue is, but hopefully not too long. You're 10 minutes into the session. The last thing that you need to do is lose track time at this stage.
Gets quick.
Free practice one heading towards the 10-minute mark. With Nicolo Bulliger leading the way at present, 1 minute 41.232. We're just watching Andrea Locatelli coming across the line. He now too has got into the 1 minute 41s.
Oh, Locatelli on Greenhay, and he got through.
By 0.6 of a second. Scott Redding has made his way in to the pits, so the end of the first completed stint for him. This is Gareth Gerloff, looks as though he might be suffering with some mechanical problems. Gerloff, who picked up 3 points at the opening round in Phillip Island for 13th place on Sunday of the Australian round.
Technical issue at the moment.
Yeah, really tough weekend in Phillip Island.
He's on the side of the track.
And really
looks like he's just trying to lift the bike back to the pits.
Meant that he didn't really show too much at the opening round of the year. And then
make sure he's safe.
Technical issue here in his first stint of FP1. The good news for Garrett is that's down at turn 5, where there's an escape road as well to get you straight back to the paddock. So shouldn't be too long to get that bike back to the pits and the team to work on it.
We'll see.
What we have here in World Superbikes is.
Do I know if he still got those weights on that damn bike, or what? I noticed that they're kind of quiet on what they're doing to it. They make comments about it, but they won't kind of go in depth.
Otherwise, you just lose that track time. If you change to your backup bike, you're then left with that for the full weekend. So teams do their best to make sure that they want to have that option if there's a crash in a race, and then they can just bring out their backup bike.
Oh,
so for Gareth
out there feeling it.
Timo Rabat had his crash, and the motivation is to fix the bike during the session, even though you're going to lose track time.
First riders into the 1 minute 40s are Alvaro Bautista and Nicolo Bulliger. Bautista crossing line set a 1 minute 40.996, and then immediately bettered fractionally by Nicolo Bulliger. Was a battle between the two of them for much of last season. Bulliger coming out on top on points. Bautista at several stages during the season looked the faster rider, particularly at the end of races, but was
shifting at the same time, working on braking, working on entry, but feels to be the best, and just go ahead and release the brake and slide on in.
It's important for Alvaro Bautista in particular that he sets a good super pole, because by the end of races, as always in Phillip Island, he was pretty much the fastest man out there, and he was also gaining ground throughout the weekend on Bulliger, ending up only 2 seconds behind him at the end of race 2. So Petrucci coming across the line now, 1 minute 41.310 for him, 3/10 of a second down on Bulliger. Just to come back on that Bautista versus Bulliger battle throughout last seson. Bulliger obviously hitting the ground running on his debut in Phillip Island. Alvaro Bautista at times was the faster of the two of them, but the balance of points doesn't lie.
Petrucci just cruising.
The rider who'd won the last 2 world titles.
Nobody's pushing at the moment.
World Wsbk career for Nicolo Bulliger.
Justifying his 2025 Portimao. Second race of the season for World Superbike.
Asserted himself as Ducati's team leader, championship contender, and now for Alvaro Bautista, despite the 2 world championships,
El Turco, baby.
It's about trying to bounce back from that, and that's a tough place to be in for Alvaro, and up to him to be able to understand what needs to be done. You can see here for Top Rack, he's had to go back into the pits again, so another issue there for Top Rack is just losing more and more track time.
Looks like there may be a little bit of an issue with the bike at the moment, and he's sitting in the pits with no helmet on and just kind of looking observing.
It's not the first time he's been in this position. He loses time, but he still immediately is able to show pace from the word go.
He needs as much track time as possible.
Too concerned as yet, even if he's had 2 aborted attempts to set a lap time in free practice 1. 32 minutes remaining in this session, and we're going to head down to pit lane, and for the first time delighted to introduce you to our new pit reporter, Liam Hodgins.
Thank you so much, Alexander. Hopefully I can last more than 2 rounds, but we shall see about that one. Yes, down here in pit lane, got Patrick Yamaha principal Paul Denny with us, and Paul, so good to hear back.
And now we have the 2 Aruba IT bikes following each other. Looks like Batista's up first and Bulga's trailing behind. Batista looks fast. Batista looks fast, and when Batista's on, he's on. I'm sorry, that's Petrucci behind me. And they've definitely seen a whole lot of each other. Petrucci's seen a whole lot of the back of Batista. Well, last few seasons.
He'll be here
But
Sunday.
Petrucci too has also been making huge strides. I mean, he had a killer triple last season.
Commitment and enthusiasm to support the team and to be back here. But it's tough because it's a pretty extensive amount of damage.
And now it looks like Bulaga is towing Ioni.
Quick as it'll heal and whatever you throw at it, but as well as could possibly be expected and more.
Oh, Ioni goes 3. The board is Bulaga, Batista, Ioni, Alex Lowe's, Petrucci, Vandermark, Sam Lowe's, Vierhi, Lacmona, and number 10 is
exactly that, TBC.
Perfect. And of course, for this weekend, you've got your first super contestant of the year. It's the Shanty.
Number 5 is.
Number 5 is. Or have you got a brand new one for this
MON.
weekend?
Well, no, it's a modification to the existing R1 fragment.
Watching too much World Superbike, Moto GP, and Moto America. Starting to get a little confused. A lot of riders.
Endurance World Championship squad will be testing for you this year. What's next plan for this weekend? Is it all about testing?
That Sam Lowe's looks like he's killing it. He looks super smooth. We got 30 minutes even on the board.
First of all, with the accident and injury to Jonathan, which set us back after such a positive winter with him, and not a fake level of optimism.
Feeling it. Lowe's is feeling it. He likes that bike.
And challenge again for podiums and victories. And then, of course, we
Man,
had
it looks
the
like
upside, if you could
Bulaga's
find
still
one,
towing Ioni.
Augusto available to us, who tested really well here. And is obviously
Ioni's just a few tenths back.
Then having him dragged back to his day job in
Bulaga
MotoGP.
looks fast and smooth. Toe practice needs to be out on the track getting practice. I mean, he'll get enough practice though. But every lap counts.
Circumstance really. Starting with JL scratching Phillip Island. So the idea here is just to get Jason as comfy as we can, to represent the team and himself as well as we can. And then if we need him in Assen, he's in a better place to go better there.
Yeah, that's going to be my next question. So thanks very much for clearing that up, Paul.
Yeah,
all the
just
best
being
for the
told.
weekend, and hopefully everything goes well in the future.
No dramas.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Yeah, very unfortunate, the injury to Jonathan Ray. We're missing him.
I can't wait till Johnny Ray gets back, man. I love the way he rides. He
Well
rides
followed always as well.
so dope.
A great number of fans that travel over. So,
he's bad.
Disappointing to be without Jonathan. Disappointing that the first choice of substitution didn't work out as well. That's going to count against Yamaha because they had all the cards to be able to take advantage of that.
He's out at 142, 032.
Some time on the bike, but. As for the preparations and the return to fitness of Jonathan Ray,
it's crazy to see how bad his form got when he got to the BMW.
Those who've been
he just
following
couldn't
on
ride
his
that thing.
vlogs on
I think
YouTube will see the
I'm gonna know
quite fascinating
why
he can do.
I mean, he was doing so much better on the Ducati. They kicked him off of it, and now he's back feeling better on the Duck
in order
again.
to be back as soon as possible. So there's no lack of effort in the return for Jonathan Ray, but that was a very complicated and multi-fracture to the foot.
Yeah, I spoke to Johnny a few times since Phillip Island.
Scotty looking good.
Each time you speak to him, you can hear the motivation and the desire to be back on his bike and as fit as he can be and get himself back out there. But it's an injury that's a really difficult one to recover from, just because there's not much blood flow that goes to where the fracture is, and it's in your gear shift foot as well. So that means that you're always moving it as well on the bike. If it was his rear brake, it wouldn't be as big of an issue. But as it is for Johnny, it's just too difficult
not to be able to try to shift or
option. And then they were also unfortunate that Miguel Oliveira has his crash in MotoGP action, and then Augusto, after a pretty positive test for Fernandez, he ends up getting drafted into MotoGP. You can't blame Augusto for that. His job is to be a MotoGP test rider. There's an opportunity to have
Fernandez got saved. He's about to move him down, and once you start moving down,
at least for Yamaha, they're able to bring in Jason O'Halloran, a very experienced rider, into the Yamaha team here for this weekend.
Just watching Alex Lowe's as he debriefs after that latest stint.
And really positive start to the weekend for Lowe's, up there fourth fastest right now,
good
consistent pace during the course of his opening stint here at the weekend. And for Lowe's, he did 9 laps on that opening stint, and fourth fastest. What's good as well is Michael van der Mark up there in the top 6. We saw the shutters down on top rack side of the garage. So top rack's not going to come out for
super smooth.
a little while during this session if the team get that fight fixed. But for Van der Mark, he's up there pretty competitive.
Weather is going to be a good race.
A second off the leading Ducati of Wsbk.
Yes, and when Alex Lowe's, you were just talking about Alex Lowe's, we're seeing
26
here,
minutes
he's gone out there and already faster than in the test as well. And in the test itself, he was making progress throughout the weekend. He was really positive at the end of the weekend here in Portimao a fortnight ago.
Yeah, you can see there for Alex just explaining to Parariba what the bike's doing as well as he's coming into the corners there. And he's trying to explain
there's so much undulation on the track that you need the thing to be completely where you want it to be.
A bit too much for him, and he wants to change that. And the relationship that he has with Parariba, his crew chief, is obviously really important. The other important person during the course of a session is your electronics engineer, so that's why they're clumped in together, everyone talking to each other when the rider gets off the bike, and then after that immediate feedback, that's where Rita then has to make the decision, how can we change this bike?
Ioni, Alex Lowe's, Petrucci, van der Mark, Sam Lowe's, Viehi, Locatelli,
changes to the bike.
And number 10.
You can make some changes to see whether or not you're able to make improvements, but the problem as well is there's a moving goalpost over the course of the weekend. The more rubber that goes down, the more the track improves. And then right now we've got 26 degrees track temperature. That will come up quite a bit during the course of the day. It could be up to over 40 degrees this afternoon. The bike reacts differently in those conditions. So you don't want to make any big dramatic changes to the bike because in the afternoon it mightn't work.
Yes, we're 25 minutes remaining in free practice 1 with Nicolo Bulliger leading the way. Bulk of the lead riders are in the pits at the moment. Bulliger, Bautista, Iannone, Alex Lowe's, Petrucci, Van der Mark and Sam Lowe's all in the pits. Xavi Vieche is the next rider on the timesheets. He's 7th at present, just completing his installation lap to start his second stint. Locatelli and Montella, for the record, rounding out your top 10. On to the start-finish straight ahead. And Vieche rather finds himself leading as far as Honda are concerned, particularly with Iker Lecuona coming in off a long layoff and missing a lot of testing in pre-season and then injured in advance of this round as well. Lecuona just feeling his way back into this weekend at the moment. His fastest time on 1 minute 43.
Lecuona, I was keeping my eyes open on him, man, especially in MotoGP, and then, jeez, man. Jeez,
time on the bike as much as anything else.
Injury plague. I don't know what's going on, man. Like, he just is like
a tough start to the season for Iker Lecuona.
This is motorcycle racing, the crashing thing, man.
It's been another winter where you're waiting to see what they can do coming into the season. Big changes in both sides of the pit box for this season, and for that team, they've had to make a lot of changes again, and they need that bit of consistency if they're going to be able to make steps forward.
He's super
Watching
fast.
Into turn 1, under heavy braking, downhill as well.
Right, he definitely needs a season.
One of the
he needs an untroubled season. He needs to finish the rest of the season super strong. Otherwise, it might start looking a little weird.
One of the few riders actually still out and about at this venue. Reading with
23 minutes and 20 seconds.
42, as I touched on briefly earlier on.
Trying to get some laps, Scotty, trying to get some laps in.
Taking part in the recent test here.
I've seen him online working, racing. He's doing as much as he can do off the track as on the track. So
practice 1, when you think
I would assume that that'll translate.
Petrucci, they were kind of the riders that Reading was with first time out in Phillip Island. He's not quite with them for now.
Yeah, 3/4 of a second slower than Petrucci after that first stint, so not a million miles off for Scott, considering he hasn't been on a Ducati here for
Jason
a long time.
O'Halloran.
Reading, it's about trying to just make sure you're able to get yourself ready to
He's Australian.
the rest of the weekend, the important part of the weekend. And we saw him Phillip Island, he's still got that fire, the determination, and most importantly for him, the confidence to be at the front. He'll want to do the same here in Phillip Island. As Phillip Island here in Portimao.
O'Halloran just making his way round, a little way off the pace at the moment. Of course, the specification of bikes so different, BSB to endurance to the World Championship here, and that's why
22 minutes and 20
earlier on,
seconds with
saying,
Bulliger going first,
not really what it's
Bautista,
about for him. It's about learning the
Ioni,
bike
Alex
and,
Lowe's,
the
Petrucci,
circuit,
van der
the
Mark,
specification
Lowe's,
of Scott.
Viehi, Locatelli, and Montella.
You can't really have a high expectation whenever you look at the performances we've seen from Yamaha over the course of the last year, and it is one of those situations of trying to just make sure that you're able to build on it all the way through the weekend. And Liam, you're down with
Reading coming down the hill, gets a stop, slow down, gets a turn,
so big issues
still in the turn, downshift,
Thank you very much, Steve. Yeah, down here with Sean.
brake, back on the gas, and he's on it.
And as you said, we did see that Toprak ran off in his first lap out on circuit. Sean, can you just explain to us what happened to Toprak?
Yeah, he's just got a small issue. We're not sure what it is at the moment, so the guys are working on it. He felt the problem straight away.
Hopefully it's not a. Hopefully Toprak's not having a huge issue. Hopefully it's a minor. Hopefully it's a tiny thing. Because when he's happy, he's on fire. But when he doesn't feel the comfort, then all hell will break loose.
We're just working on it now. I'm pretty sure we're not going to get it back out in this session, so we'll take our time, work through the problems, find out what it is, and get.
That's a good chunk of it. So he's gonna miss. He's gonna miss the majority of the first free practice session.
This won't affect Toprak for the rest of the weekend, considering you did have so much testing here a couple of weeks ago.
I'm absolutely sure.
And of course, talking of Toprak and yourself,
Toprak goes well this track though. So whoa, Sam Lowe's, whoa, coming over the hill, whoa. He got that real crazy. I don't think I've ever seen somebody slow down over the hill like that. He came down and the bike weaved and weaved and weaved, and he could get it slowed down and turned again. Redding tucked all the way, coming through. Across the checker line. And he's out of 142.097.
We have to develop that,
and that puts him at 12. It's 20 minutes and 8 seconds on the clock. Redding on the inside of Locatelli. Locatelli just cruising. Trying to get out the way.
Package anyway, so we knew it was going to be difficult. So to come back to Portimao circuit where we did some of the dry testing,
ladies in the garage,
we had a good base for us.
In his pilot's chair.
After Philip Allen was going to kind of show us to be in a much better area, and that proved to be.
Scott on the Benovolo.
You did have troubles in
Ducati. Before it was a BMW. They just kind of swap bikes.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. Just bad luck with this one here now, which is a bit of a shame.
Bullock just cruising out of pit lane.
2 weeks ago, and F31 just turns out to be a mechanical. We don't know what it is. It's a technical problem, know what it is. We don't have a chance to that show.
We're riding with Chabby.
We just got to let the lads work through the problem, and we'll come back stronger.
He's running in. We're running with Eker. And he's in 18th at the moment. Just crossed the line, but there was no update in time.
The lost running here for Toprak.
Eker's out of 143.279.
And we know that when given the opportunity, he'll get out there and he'll be setting fast times. I think there might be some concern around reliability, because once a race 2 retirement in the opening round is bad luck, but now a mechanical issue that's costing him free practice 1, whether it's related or not, is more unreliability that places a doubt on Wsbk and BMW in the early stages of this season.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I think especially whenever you hear Sean they've gone back to the same.
They're crumbling. They're not crumbling, but they're starting to have problems.
Now, that could be one of those things that's totally unrelated.
This season doesn't look like it's going to go
everyone will have to
like last season.
And BMW will have to look at it. But for Toprak, the biggest problem is, even though we had a 2-day test here recently, you're used to getting 40-45 laps in during the course of free practice. Toprak's not getting that, and he's going to miss out on probably about 16-17 laps in this session.
He's a racer though. He'll get as many laps as he needs.
Up against the Ducatis, and we just saw a glimpse of Sam Lowe's there coming through. Sam up there in 7th. We've got Petrucci inside the top 5.
You do what you need to do until qualifying.
Inside the top 3.
And out of that, then the bike has got to be good for that optimum window. So
forward to give them a head start.
Track starting to get a little busier now. Nicolo Bulliger and Alvaro Bautista currently leading
17 minutes and
17.5
seconds
they're
flat.
both making their way round to
Bulliger, top of the time cheese, Batista, Ione, Alex Lowe's,
Petrucci still in there.
Petrucci, Vandermark, Lowe, Sam Lowe's, Viehi, Locatelli, and Montelli round out the top 10.
Locatelli and Yari Montella rounds out your top 10. He's currently in pit lane. As far as FP1 is concerned, obviously the main story has
Scotty
been
looking good, look comfortable.
not being able to make his way out on
Looks
track,
smooth.
but also the strong performance of Alvaro Bautista, you'd have to say, going well thus far.
Yeah, important for Alvaro to show that he's got that speed here in Portimao as well.
Brendan crosses the line, goes top 10.
He's
been towed by Locatelli.
To make sure he's able to come through another race weekend without giving
And
himself
Locatelli's
any
ninth,
holes
so.
to dig himself out of. Phillip Island's a little bit strange because the Super Pole race
It looks like Bassani just went 8th and bumped to Guerehi and Locatelli and Reddy.
At the start of race 2 as well. But his speed was there all the way through the weekend. He was the closest man to Buliga for the full week down in Australia, and he ended up in a bigger points hole than he probably should have been.
1 minute 41.6 there, just posted by Axel Bassani. So he made some progress
Batista
in the standings.
on
Up
the
to
inside of,
P8 for Bassani. It's just about being as close as possible to teammate Alex Lowe's. We know Lowe's capacity. We've seen it in Phillip Island. We've seen it in regular podiums in the Superpole race in particular. For Bassani, we know that over a single lap, we know that over those short race distances,
when Batista's tucked in and Batista's planted, he's gone.
If Bassani can be as close to him as possible, he will show progress really compared to last year, his first after moving to Kawasaki.
The worry right now for Bermuda is, again, this
15 minutes, 40 seconds.
308 k's an hour for Bassani.
Batista's second, but he's trying to bump Buliga.
You've got the Ducati's, Buliga 320, Alvaro Bautista 315. It's free lap time to give up, and for Ducati it also means it's a lot easier to overtake. And for the likes of Lowe's, if you're
Batista's trying to get that thing stopped, had a lot of momentum. He's trying to get stops
behind you, and it's so difficult then to make that time back and make those positions back.
Batista's motorcycle control is so amazing. But Hatton's having a problem. Stay on track, baby.
They obviously want to be
about to run off. Got a 1:43.7
in terms of lap time, but not in terms of straight line speed, and that makes it very difficult to hold position. Makes it very difficult to overtake.
Alex Lowe's jumps back on the Bermuda.
So that's something that, as you say,
jumps back on the track through pit lane at 14 minutes and 50 seconds.
End of the day, why the top rack lead Yamaha, that was a big factor. And for Bermuda, they're doing a really good job with that program, that project.
Yamaha refused to give Toprak what he wanted. Yamaha didn't give Valentino what he wanted. Then they wouldn't give Vinales what he wanted. They wouldn't give Quartararo what. Well, they finally actually broke in and gave Quartararo, I guess. They're like, all right, we gotta stop bleeding now. We gotta stop bleeding the athletes up here. And I was a huge Yamaha fan, but to watch them let some of the best riders go, I thought they.
Is that a question of the bike then, or is it that the engine to be looked at in the time to come?
The engine is one of those things that's a very old architecture compared to some of the more new modern bikes that we have out there right now, the Ducati, the Honda, the BMW, and that's where for Bermuda, for
Batista's
Kawasaki,
still running behind Buliga, but I'm sure
they need to make that step
it looks like
forward.
Batista's running pretty good. So I wonder if he's pushing, he's probably trying to bump Buliga, but it's hard.
They have to be on the production bike as well. It's not just a case of being able to build them for your race bikes.
Yeah, that becomes almost a political challenge then, doesn't it? Or a corporate challenge, I should say.
I would think that Locatelli would be running top 5.
The company and so on that makes those decisions to some extent.
He's been on that R1 for quite some time, and he's pretty fast. He's a hell of a racer too. So
developing the bike, you then have to maybe build a whole new factory, or at least.
But it's like if anybody else can also ride the Yamaha, he can ride the mess out of it.
To build a super bike are very high, and it's very difficult to then make that into a profit-making part of the organisation. Whereas smaller capacity bikes, you're able to turn them out for a profit as well. There's more sales in them. But the manufacturers want to ride superbikes. They want to race superbikes. They want to show what their production bike is capable of, and that's what gives them the motivation on the corporate board level.
Superbikes, I don't know. I've never got a chance to actually really ride a real race-bred bike, and I would like to get myself to that point.
Article or another.
I mean, I can ride the hell out of my 600, and I can ride the hell out of my K8, but I mean, to ride an actual real race bike might be a little different, and I would love to get to a point where I can ride it. I mean, I can ride the shit out of my 600, so.
To just keep
and I'm to the point to where it's time to go. It's time to go get that bad boy built. So go get some suspension. So I just completed getting all my electronics, but now I need to get a couple of little doodads.
Third fastest in front of him on the track. Down in towards turn 3. This is an.
But I've been riding 600s for so long that I feel super comfortable on 600s. Leaders are just
part of the track, and that's
a lot.
A lot of places around Portimao.
I can ride them, but to ride them fast, I don't think I'm quite fast riding a leader like I am a 600.
Left-hander. Do you drift out wide? Do you try and hold that tight line? How do you need to make your bike work around that part of the track? Through 6, 7, you're then up towards turn 8. Have a look at the left-hand side of the track, and that left-hand curve there, the red and white part. If you run a bit too wide, you run the risk of a crash. So this is one of those areas where the riders need to be really precise. Over Jones late down
Still
towards the left hand.
11 minutes and 42 seconds with Bulaga,
really
Batista.
Montella
Montella's running third. Ioni, Alex Lowe's, Petrucci, Vandermark, Sam Lowe's, Bassani, and Vieje running out the top 10.
Track really does rise up towards turn 13, and if you go up, you have to come back.
And they're rolling with Sam Lowe's right now on track,
through the right hand,
and he's at a minute and 18 seconds.
Through turn 14, there's lots of room on this section of the track, but you want to get back across into that right-hand curve. The fast riders all run across that inside curve, and then you're down in towards turn 15. Fast corner through here. This is where Bulaga had a crash during the test. Toprak had a big crash a few years ago. Then you come across the crest and finish off your lap. That's the track we're having the wing
141.790. Sam Lowe's, Promoter.
Ducati or the BMW, having those big wings.
10 minutes and 50 seconds left. Free practice one. Portimao 2025.
And then back into turn one as well. We didn't get to talk about that on that onboard lap, but very unique venue here in
Inside the Motor Garage, just taking some notes.
It's nicknamed the roller coaster.
And now we're back on track with Bulaga.
Yeah, turn one's really interesting because you always feel like you can break lanes.
Who's still running number one.
Really
He's been running number one. He's been comfortable all day, baby.
You know, if you break too deep, the rear comes up too high, so you have to be a little bit conservative on the entry. But if you're in a race situation, then you leave yourself a little bit vulnerable. And it's one place where you will see dive bombs down the inside.
The weather is prime for riding.
You have to wait before you're able to peel in, and then the third rider in a group can come through. We've seen that time and again.
Bulaga getting it.
As we head down into
getting it in line, going down the hill to get it turned. He can ride that V4R.
Right there, right now. The only riders in the 1 minute 40s are.
So what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do here? When are they gonna get Heron his wild card? When is Heron gonna be able to go ride a World Superbike race? When is he gonna be able to take the Warhorse team down there and go have some fun? Almost like the attack team did with Gagne.
For him to prove that Phillip Island he can build on.
Yes, Ducati going well again here in Portimao, aren't they? It's going to be another of the takeaways from FP1.
I mean, I thought that was going to happen. I thought that maybe they might say something after the Supersport race, after the Supersport championship, and then nobody ever said anything. And I thought, all right, well, when he wins the championship, that's for sure like a card. And I mean, maybe just not. Just haven't heard anything.
That looked like the front was going from underneath him as he came across that curve into T1, but he's got a lot of confidence in that bike. Last time around a 51,
especially Heron's been whooping everybody on these tracks for quite some time. I'm sure he wants to go test his skills out against other people and see how well he can do.
In the past, whether you look at his Moto2 results,
Ioni coming down. Ioni just crossed the finish line out of 141.381.
Iannone showing no effects of the loss of those early minutes of this FP1 session. 8.5 minutes to go, and he's made up those lost laps, hasn't he?
Yeah, we had a quick update from Liam as well in the pits. Just from him, he was saying there was a rear brake issue for Iannone, and we were able to get that solved pretty quickly.
Me and a guy online were going back and forth about the rear brake. He said how he didn't use the rear brake. He's like, I was only taught to overload the front brake. And I was like, I use my rear brake for cornering, man. I know I see a lot of people don't use their rear brake. I don't. I've always been very, very comfortable using my rear brake. I'm ready for a thumb brake now. And the irony is, I realize that because I use my back brake, I can only use my back brake around a corner to the right. But if I got a thumb brake, then I can use my thumb brake to corner to the right and to the left. Is what I realized. So I think I'm gonna upgrade to a thumb brake. I thought about that and was like, oh my god.
A lot of confidence.
Levels to this shit.
Their margin to the times in the test, is that just a question of tyres and allocation and wanting to save the right ones for the remainder of the weekend as well?
Yeah, and during the test you look at the ultimate speed because people will do a qualifying set.
We're rolling with Montella again on the Barney V4R.
That opportunity.
Oh yeah, look at what.
You don't really know that, especially on the opening.
And Petrucci is 6,
There's
which is
only
wild.
things that can happen in FP1, and Toprak's finding that out by losing his track running. If you have a crash like Rabat or an issue like Gerloff and the problems that we've seen for Iannone, you just lose track running. So a lot of times during the course of the weekend, everyone's going as fast as they can at any given time, but in an FP1 session you're trying to go as fast as you can, as safely as you can, just to make sure
it through.
Bedded in. And then maybe now at the end of the session, like we see it a lot of the times from the likes of Gareth Gerloff when he was on the Bonobo bike last year, he'll throw in a fresh tyre just to be able to get that information before FP2.
You don't want to go out there and bang up your whole free practice and then not getting information.
And then you take that down.
You at least want to save something.
You try and make your step in FP2.
Andrea Iannone finding 2/10 of a second.
Strategy, baby.
Last time around.
Can't just go out there and throw it onto the wall.
Going away from him elsewhere. Several riders have been finding time in that sector one. So looks as though Nicolo Bulliga loses a little bit of ground there in his fastest lap.
Yeah, Bulliga was 2/10 of a second slower than Bautista in sector one in their fastest laps.
Got 6 minutes and 20 seconds. Free practice one at Portimao, 2025.
Long sector, over 30 seconds.
Bulliga's been running at the very top of the board since practice started. Bulliga, Batista, Montella, Iannone, Alex Lowes, Petrucci, Vandermark, Sam Lowes, Bassani, Viehi round out the top 10.
2 and 3 where Bautista was picking up a lot of positions.
Alvaro rides really well.
Pretty crazy to see another customer Ducati beating Petrucci.
And that area down in towards the lights of turn 5. It just suits what he can do.
And
he's on that.
checking out Alex Lowes come down the hill, and he's able to get a turn.
And the Ducati works well like that.
Montella on the outside. Oh, and Montella might have.
So it's Nicolo Bulliga who leads Alvaro Bautista,
might have jumped in the way just a little bit.
And just a quarter of a second covering your top
and
four.
now we're rolling with Iannone. Across the finish line. And Iannone is out of 141.506, so he definitely just bumped his time.
Yeah, decent pace from Iannone there again, 41.5. So in and around the same sort of pace as Van der Mark and Sam Lowes up there inside the top 8 position. So good consistency from Iannone, and no ill effects of that issue that he had at the start of the session.
And good start to the season for him in Phillip Island, first time out. There was a little bit of misfortune in race 1, but Super Pole race, he was the closest contender for Nicolo Bulliga, and it did rather feel at times during the weekend that the only one who could go with him, even for a few laps, was Andrea Iannone.
Yeah, Iannone's problem isn't his good weekends, it's trying to make sure he's more consistent through the course of the season.
And
now that he's into that second year after his doping ban, it was 4 years on the sideline.
Egerter
knows what to expect.
Was in the way. I guess he wanted to get out of the way of Bassani, and now Egerter's pretty much trailing Bassani if he can hang on to the back.
He's able to be that consistent rider all the way through a season.
And here is the best example of that, isn't it? He was down the order at the start of the weekend here last season, Iannone. But it was a venue
top
he
10,
visited in
as you were.
testing.
Actually, Bassani just went to 8.
Now he's
He
had a whole
bumped
race
Sam Lowes.
weekend. It was only August that we were here last, and the test obviously a fortnight ago. So now there is definitely no hiding place.
And Bulliga across the line.
Yeah, the January test here in Portimao, Iannone didn't turn
Van der Mark and Viehi across the line. We're at 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Free practice 1.
Into turn 1. Third fastest for Van der Mark. That's going to give BMW a lot of confidence. And for Mikey, he was faster than Bulliga in the first sector. Fastest in that final sector.
We have a runoff.
We have because who has hit problems. Yellow flags out at the moment at
technical Ryan Victors. Oh, he crashed.
Because tries to get back on board that machine. Unfortunate for him, he's 1.4 down on the fastest time in this session, 14th place
almost 2 seconds.
at the moment, but that's going to end his FP1 with 3.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, and it must have been a very slow speed crash for him as well, because the wings on the front
are
can
still
be the
on.
Italian flag and
what was
the
that?
Union Jack as well, and they're undamaged. So
it took off. The bike took off, but it sure when he took off, it was real weird. And he's back on track.
Too much either.
Comes over the hill with 3 minutes and 4 seconds left.
Because we'll have to come back to the pits to just have the bike checked over, and with only 3 minutes remaining, that pretty much neutralises his session. Andrea Locatelli just making his way out through on an installation lap now, as is Bahatin Safoglu further down the order, so the Yamaha's getting in some last minute running.
Just kind of leading everybody. He's leading Batista.
Just coming through.
Batista hangs off so much. Batista's head, I notice his head is always way off.
Yeah,
and his head leads his body in the turn. I've noticed that.
Bulliga's time as the target time on his pit board, and a 10-lap run being done by them. So he's also got Bulliga as his target on the racetrack, just out in front of him as well.
Bulliga got to 141.489. Batista 141.375. Oh, and the Van der Mark on 141.219.
Track as well. There'll be time for one more.
Batista is feeling it. Bulliga better watch out. Batista is probably kind of really feeling the underdog role, because he's gonna. I'm waiting for Batista to get his feeling back, because he's all clumsy and awkward, and he's just kind of not like, that bike is all weird or whatever. I don't know what's happening.
Those independent
but he was walking away, and he's been walking away from Buluga, so I would assume that there's still some sort of restriction on the bike. That maybe he's now, you know, he's got a hold on. I'm not sure. I have to do a little more research.
He's been able to show there that for BMW, they're going to have another rider up the front this weekend. Super Pole is the most important section of the weekend for Van der Mark, because if he's able to work with top rack like we saw so often last year,
Buluga,
if he doesn't have a
Batista,
crash,
Van der Mark, Montella, Ioni, Alex Lowes, Petrucci, Bassani, Sam Lowes, and Vierge round out the top 10 with a minute and 10 seconds left. Petrucci is just following tight.
This will be an interesting
Petrucci
one.
normally doesn't get led. Petrucci normally is the leader.
Montella stepping in, or stepping up, I should say, within that team from Supersport, and that's where Barney are directing their focus now, rather than
Bassani goes third on the Bimota.
Montella has got a good benchmark with an experienced rider alongside him, and if he can gradually close the gap,
and we got 40 seconds left in this first free practice session in Portimao for 2025. Looks like Buluga, Batista, Bassani, Van der Mark, Montella, Ioni, Alex Lowes, Petrucci, Vierge, number 9, and Sam Lowes rounding out the top 10.
The top rider in the class, so we know that he's going to be very consistent, get good performance out of that bike.
Petrucci's a Sunday man.
He's a good yardstick with which to be able
Petrucci's a Sunday. Petrucci's a strong passer. He makes a lot of passes if he doesn't find himself in the front of the race in the beginning, generally. He would pass people like the hell in Moto America. He's passed people. I was like, oh! And we're done. Superbike free practice 1 in Portimao is done. Buluga tops the list. Looks like we're in the same spot. Buluga, Batista, Bassani, Van der Mark, Montella, Ioni, Alex Lowes, Petrucci, Vierge, Sam Lowes. Looks like Toprak had a bit of a technical. Garrett Gerloff had a bit of a technical, so it didn't look like they were able to complete the practice session. So we'll see if that affects them or not. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys on the next session.
7.7, the fastest time of this session.